Sobering statistics, numbers, $31.6 trillion in debt. That's about $94,000 per citizen, $246,000 per taxpayer. So I want to talk a little bit about what that cost looks like for Iowans. And so, Director Young, can you speak a little bit today to the rising interest costs, how that fits into these numbers as we're seeing the debt balloon? What are some of the tangible impacts to working families as a result of those rising interest costs?
Thank you for that. And we like to use public held debt, which is about $24 trillion. I believe you're using both debt points together, but either way, this is why this president put forward proposals that bring down the deficit, because we do also believe that our investments should be paid for. And if we don't go about investing tax cuts in a fiscally responsible way and pay for them, our deficit and debt problem will be worse, Congresswoman. And I know there's disagreement on how you do that, but this president has put forward tax reform that would save $3 trillion or nearly $3 trillion over 10 years.
I see this as a complete tax shift, but if you talk about rising costs and the impact that has, I think one of the quickest ways we could address that is energy, and I think we have different perspectives as well on lowering energy costs, but I've been advocating for that, and I would encourage you to continue to look at Iowa's biofuels as an answer, and please take that feedback back to the president. We need an answer on E15 if you can. I'd also like to ask and follow up on the CCP challenges that we're facing, since you referenced that again, and it's very clear that this committee has a very unified interest in that. Since you do have kind of an all-of-government look through OMB, do you have any recommendations on how we can better leverage our spending? You referenced that $6 billion number, but ways where we can truly counter the CCP's aggression through government.
So I mentioned two agencies in particular whose money can be used, the Budget Authority, the funding amount, but also they have the ability to finance projects. So their money goes a little further. So I'd love to have you talk to us about the Development Finance Corporation. They have some innovative ways of financing projects across the globe. Again, I mentioned the Millennium Challenge Corporation. They go in, sign compacts, and really try to leverage private dollars. So it's not just what we're investing here. What programs do we have that are leverage points that would attract private sector interest? And those two in particular are quite interesting in that way.
Are there any agencies engaged in related work to counter the CCP that you think could be doing a better job of collaborating and finding that either that outreach within the private sector or better outreach within government?
So those are two agencies. Certainly, they will tell you they are resource constrained, which is one reason we put it here. And we have to, in order to attract private interest, they need to know the federal government is serious and going to show up with resources. So that is what we're trying to do, have those programs be much more aggressive. And to do that, I look at this as capital, especially for DFC, to make sure that their finance tools can be put to use. You and I also talked about COFA, Compact for Free Associations, those tiny little places like Palau in the South Pacific. We need a presence there. We often talk about COFA in the Department of Interior. We put it under Department of State because we think it's a strong diplomatic tool to counter China and make sure we have a presence where we know they want to be.
Finally, I just want to talk a little bit about the regulatory burden and cost on farmers, small businesses, and families. What plans do you have in place to more appropriately account for the cost of regulations on people before they are actually implemented?
Yeah, so a part of OMB is the Office of Regulatory Affairs, and it is part of our duty. Our executive order that governs us, 12866, says we have to look at cost-benefit analysis for regulations. We are committed to continue that. We're not going to change that. What we are doing is looking to modernize. Far too many rules come into OIR that the amount of economically significant has not changed in, I believe, about 30 years. And we need to raise that so that fewer things come in for review. So we are modernizing, but what we are is committed to making sure we keep a robust cost-benefit analysis in the regulatory system.
Director Young, this is one of the number one issues I hear about from my constituents is the cost of the regulation on doing business. And we can truly unleash this economy if we take that into consideration and reduce that burden on our businesses and our taxpayers. Thank you. I yield that.
Mr. Cloud.
Thank you, Chair. I wasn't going to bring this up, but since it was mentioned, I wanted to go back to it. It's then Vice President Biden's own words. He said, "We are trying to build a multipolar world." Those aren't my words. It's not my interpretation.